Welcome to the Deep Dive.
I'm glad to be here.
Today we're jumping into a topic that's, well, it's moving incredibly fast, isn't it?
It really is.
We're talking about electric vehicles, specifically the big shifts happening now, what we expect for 2025, but also looking back at how Europe got here over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, we've got some great sources that cover a lot of ground new models, the tech making them tick, that all-important charging infrastructure, and how different car makers are playing their cards.
Plus that historical context, which I think is key to understanding the now.
Definitely. It shows the journey.
So our mission today, let's unpack all this, pull out the really important insights from the material you've shared, and give you a clear picture of where the EV market seems to be going.
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
Okay, so 2025. The source is painted as a pretty significant year, right?
Yeah.
Not just, business as usual.
Absolutely pivotal is the word that comes to mind based on the reading. It feels like a maturing point. We're seeing important new things, not just with the cars themselves, but the technology underneath and the support systems, the infrastructure.
And it's the range of what's coming that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just high-end stuff.
No, exactly. There's a real focus highlighted in the sources on more accessible models, trying to get more people into EVs. But at the same time, you've got cars pushing performance, luxury, even autonomy.
So give us some examples. What specific models are the sources pointing to for 2025?
Okay, well, Citroën comes up. They're apparently bringing out a new electric C5 Aircross.
Ah, the SUV.
Yeah, and the specs mentioned are pretty compelling, potentially over 600 kilometers of range.
That's serious range. Covers most long drives.
It does. And decent power, too. Around 213 or 231 CV mentioned, so over 200 horsepower. Plus, their smaller EC3 is also highlighted, fitting into that accessible category.
Okay, so Citroen's active. Who else?
Well, the list is quite long. There's talk of an updated Dacia Spring, keeping that budget-friendly angle.
Right.
Then, maybe more niche, the Nissan Ariya Nismo. Mentioned not just for performance, but potentially having some advanced autonomous driving features.
Interesting. That's pushing the tech side.
And Renault again with the Renault 4 E-Tech. Another nod to their heritage, but electrified.
Yeah, they seem to be leaning into that retro electric thing.
But the one that really seems to generate the most excitement in the source material, it's the Renault 5 E-Tech. It comes up again and again.
Oh, I've seen the pictures. That Renault 5 E-Tech just looks fantastic. The design, bringing back that icon.
Sounds like you're a fan, so are you going to buy me one, seeing as you're so excited?
Maybe if we get 1 million subscribers from this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, the buzz seems justified, right? The sources suggest it really hits a sweet spot. Cool design, modern tech.
It does seem to be positioned that way. But while you're saving up for my gift, let's not forget the other end of the market. The sources confirm things are expanding there, too.
Like really high-end.
Like Ferrari, they're apparently set to unveil their first all-electric car.
Wow, a Ferrari EV. What's it supposed to be?
Interestingly, described as a compact crossover. And Joni Ive is apparently involved in the design.
The Apple design guru.
The very same. Suggests a big focus on aesthetics, user experience, price tag mentioned, around €500,000.
Okay, so definitely not in the accessible category with the EC3,
Right.
but it shows the breadth, like you said.
Exactly. From maybe 20-something thousand euros up to 500,000. And the list keeps going. There's mention of a Hyundai Inster, an electric Jeep Compass, the Fiat Grande Panda, also going electric.
Another classic name revived.
Yep. Then the Mercedes CLA Electric, an updated Tesla Model Y, always a big seller, and an electric Alfa Romeo Stelvio.
It really feels like 2025 is when a lot of manufacturers are bringing their sort of core familiar models into the electric age properly.
I think that's fair. And it's interesting, amidst all these new arrivals, the sources still point to the Tesla Model 3 as a kind of yardstick.
Still a benchmark.
In many ways, yeah. That long-range version hitting over 600 kilometers. The autonomous tech, whatever you call it, it's well known, and the supercharger network access. Still big factors. New models often get compared back to what the Model 3 established.
Okay, so a flood of exciting new cars. But what's actually enabling this, especially the ones pushing range and performance, that brings us to the technology, doesn't it?
It really does. And this is where things get, frankly, potentially game-changing according to the material. Solid-state batteries are mentioned frequently.
Like, I keep hearing about those. What's the big deal?
Well, it's not just a small improvement on current batteries. It's a fundamentally different chemistry. The promise outlined in the sources is, well, huge. Ranges possibly over 1,000 kilometers.
1,000. That basically eliminates range anxiety, full stop.
Pretty much. And the other big promise is much, much faster charging. We're talking potentially single-digit minutes, to add a significant amount of range.
Okay, that would be a game changer. Are companies close?
The sources specifically mention Nissan and Renault investing heavily in this area. They suggest potential market arrival around 2027.
Ah, so not quite 2025 then.
Not likely for mass market models in 2025, no. But the fact that major players are putting serious resources into it now shows the direction of travel. It could reshape the whole EV experience very soon.
Makes sense. You need the tech pipeline. And of course, better batteries don't help much if you can't charge them easily. What about infrastructure in 2025?
Big improvements expected there too, according to our sources. Specifically, the rollout of ultra-fast charging stations.
How fast is ultra fast?
The target mentioned is getting up to 80% charge in under 10 minutes, assuming the car can handle it, of course.
Under 10 minutes. That's basically a coffee break. That really changes the equation for long trips or quick top-ups.
Exactly. And the sources give some specifics on where this is happening. Major cities, as you'd expect, Milan, Berlin, Paris are named.
Okay, the big hubs.
But also, interestingly, specific Italian provinces like Brescia, Bergamo, and Cremona are mentioned, which suggests it's not just capital cities, but key regional areas and transport corridors, too.
That's smart. Focusing on where people actually drive.
Right. And looking just a tiny bit further ahead, the sources mention Volkswagen's Project Trinity.
Ah, yes. Heard about that. Slated for 2026.
That's the plan. Described as an electric flagship aiming for level 4 autonomous driving.
Level 4? That's pretty advanced, isn't it? Where the car handles most things itself in certain areas.
That's the idea. Handles complex tasks in defined zones, maybe freeing up the driver on highways or in traffic jams. Trinity seems to represent VW's big push on range, charging, and this whole digital automated experience bundled together.
So we've got the new cars, the tech like solid state coming, faster charging rolling out. How are the big car companies actually navigating all this? What are their strategies?
Yeah, the sources touch on this, and it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's quite varied.
Give me some examples.
Okay, Toyota, often seen as focusing on hybrids, right?
Yeah, they've been big on hybrids for years.
But the sources note they are developing high-performance EV batteries, specifically for their Lexus luxury brand, aiming for over 800-kilometer range and fast charging.
So, kind of dual strategy. Keep the hybrid mass market happy, but build high-end EV capability.
Seems like it. Leveraging their strengths while preparing for the future. Then, in contrast, Maserati is mentioned as having pushed back its dedicated EV models to maybe 2028.
A delay. Any reason given?
Not explicitly in the material, but it could be challenges in getting the tech right for their very high-performance segment, or maybe just shifting resources. It shows it's not a smooth path for everyone.
And Opel.
They're described as maintaining flexibility, offering electric versions alongside combustion engines and potentially other options, hedging their bets perhaps, or catering to different customer needs right now.
So very different approaches. Toyota hedging, Maserati delaying, Opel staying flexible. It underlines how complex this transition is for established players.
Absolutely, which makes understanding the history even more important. You can't really grasp these current moves without seeing where the European market came from over the last decade.
Right. Let's get into that historical perspective from the sources. What stands out?
For me, reading through it, Renault's role in that 2010-2020 period is just undeniable. They are clearly positioned as the pioneer and the market leader for much of that decade.
Mostly because of the Zoe, right?
Usually because of the Zoe, yeah.
Yeah.
Launched way back in 2012. And it was, according to the sources, Europe's best-selling EV for several years running. That's massive for kickstarting things.
Do the sources give any numbers on that early dominance?
They do. For 2015, for example, Renault led Europe with over 23,000 registrations. That gave them something like 23.6% of the entire European EV market that year.
Wow, nearly a quarter of the market.
And the Zoe alone accounted for 19.2% of all EVs on European roads then. That's huge early influence. It shows they really committed to making EVs accessible, not just concept cars.
And they had other models.
Yeah, the Dacia Spring later on, which became super popular for affordability, and the Kangoo ZE electric van were also mentioned as contributing. So, based on that history, the volume, the clear leadership, the sources basically state Renault was #1 in Europe over the past decade.
Okay, so Renault laid the early groundwork. Who else were the major European players in that top tier over the decade?
After Renault's early lead, the Volkswagen Group really comes into focus. The sources note VW is the current leader in registrations.
Driven by the ID models.
Exactly. ID.3, ID.4, the newer ID.7, they've invested heavily across their many brands recently and seen very strong growth.
Right. Then there's Stellantis. That's the newer group, right? Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat, Jeep.
Correct. Formed more recently, but they've rapidly expanded their electric offerings. Models like that Citroën EC3 we mentioned, and yeah, the Dacia Spring often gets discussed in this context too, showing that push for volume. They've become major players very quickly.
Okay, VW and Stellantis driving recent growth.
Who else? The BMW Group is consistently mentioned. They've been active, especially in the premium EV space. You had the early, quite radical i3.
Yeah, that was distinctive.
And more recently, things like the iX1 SUV. Constant growth and a focus on tech innovation in that higher segment.
And Mercedes.
Mercedes-Benz, or Daimler as it was, also invested significantly, again, mainly targeting the premium and luxury end with their EQ family of electric vehicles, trying to maintain that luxury leadership in the EV era.
Makes sense for them. Now, what about Tesla? They're obviously huge in Europe now.
Absolutely critical to mention them. The sources do acknowledge Tesla's massive impact, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. But they also specifically point out that Tesla isn't typically included in rankings of European manufacturers.
Because they're American.
Precisely. So huge influence, often market-leading in sales, but discussed separately from the traditional European automakers' contributions and rankings.
Got it. So summing up that history from the sources, Renault was the key early pioneer, really built the foundation. But more recently, it's been the big German group, VW, and the diverse Stellantis group driving a lot of the massive growth we're seeing.
That seems like a fair summary of the historical narrative presented.
Okay, let's tie this all together then. We've got new models, new tech, infrastructure growing, different company strategies, and this rich history. What does it all actually mean for someone listening to this, maybe thinking about EVs?
Well, pulling it all together, I think the main takeaway from the sources is that 2025 feels like a real acceleration point. It's building directly on that foundation laid by pioneers like Renault, who proved EVs could work for everyday people.
And now the others are piling in, basically.
Pretty much. With VW, Stellantis, and others pushing hard, the market is maturing rapidly. So for you, the listener, what does this mean?
More choice.
Definitely more choice. More variety across different price points, different sizes, different styles, from affordable city cars up to, well, electric Ferraris.
Better performance, too, it sounds like. Longer range, faster charging.
Exactly. The technology advancements mean EVs are becoming more practical for more people. That 600-kilometer range figure keeps popping up. And sub-10-minute charging, even if only at specific stations initially, changes the psychology of owning an EV.
Less planning needed for long journeys.
Potentially, yes. And the infrastructure expansion, while still ongoing, is becoming more targeted. Focusing on cities and key routes makes EVs more usable day to day.
And seeing that history from the Zoe being almost alone to this huge wave in 2025, it really shows how fast things are moving, doesn't it?
It really does. It puts the current boom into perspective. You see the different bets companies made, how long it took to get here. It shows we're moving from the early adopter phase into something much more mainstream.
Driven by both the tech finally catching up and the manufacturers making strategic shifts.
Right. It's a convergence.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today. We've deep dived into these sources, looking at the specific new EVs hitting the road in 2025, the battery and charging tech making them better, the infrastructure build-out, and crucially, that decade of European EV history setting the stage.
It paints a pretty dynamic picture.
It really does. So maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to ponder from all this.
Go on.
Consider how these rapid advances, faster charging, better range, increasing automation, like that level 4 potential in Project Trinity. How might that change more than just how we drive? Could it actually reshape our cities, our infrastructure?
That's a big question. If cars charge in minutes and eventually drive themselves, what happens to petrol stations, parking lots? How does it change urban planning or even just daily life in ways we haven't fully grasped yet?
Yeah, what other aspects of life could EVs fundamentally alter beyond just swapping a petrol car for an electric one? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
And on that note, if you found this deep dive valuable today, if you got some useful insights from our look into these sources,
then please do show your support. Go ahead and like this and definitely subscribe to the channel.
That way you won't miss our future deep dives where we unpack more complex topics, just like this one, always based on the material shared with us.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.